Good morning to everyone, or good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are joining us. Welcome to this session, Generative AI for Boards. And this session is actually the first session out of the complete program, um, Board Oversight of Responsible AI for Value Creation from Boards Impact Forum. And this session is a bit special. It's the first session and it will be open. So for some of you, this is the first step in our journey together for the next 2 months. And for some of you, this is an open, just an open session. And my name is Fernanda Tour, and I'm here, the operations director at Boards Impact Forum. I'm also a board director. If we can move forward, just to give you some brief overview over our esteemed guests today. So we have Bente, that is chair, board director, and also um, uh, part of our board at Boards Impact Forum, which is very exciting. We also have Mats Agervi, the CEO of Combient, which some of you might know. I think Mats will also tell us a bit more about that, about Combient, and he also has several board mandates. And we have the facilitation from Liselotte Engstam, which some of you already know, also chair, board director, and also chair of Boards Impact Forum. Liselotte, if we could move to the agenda, thank you. So we are going to just have a little introduction. Well, we are doing it already, and then we will listen to Mats Agervi, and he is going to give his perspectives on Gen AI and boards. Then we are going to listen to Bente and her experience as a chair and a board director. And then we have a little poll, which hopefully is going to be a trigger for discussion. And we go and into breakout rooms where we discuss these topics. We come back, we share, and we conclude. And to those of you who have been with us, it's a muscle right now, the agenda, the structure. But for those of you who are joining us for the first time, we always want to have these peer sessions because we really believe that that's where you learn from each other. There's no silver bullets, but it's really about exchanging knowledge. So moving forward, just a few notes. As I said in the beginning of the session, the audience is muted and we would ask you to do so, but the chat box is open. So if you have any questions or thoughts or ideas, please put it in the chat box. It would also be great if you want to share with us where you are sitting, where you are joining us from, and tell us a little bit about you. We can already say that today we have a quite balanced group in the audience. We have 55% from the Nordics and 45% from the rest of the world. We are 17 countries altogether on this session. Just send an email if you have any technical difficulties, if you cannot reach out the chat. If you can pass the slide, Liselotte. And just to give you an introduction about Board's Impact Forum and who we are, again, for those of you who have joined us, you know this slide, you know by heart. But the Climate Governance Initiative, it's a collaboration with the World Economic Forum, and there's different chapters around the globe where the idea is really to mobilize board directors to follow the World Economic Principles for Effective Climate Governance. And Board's Impact Forum is the chapter for the Nordic countries. So we're talking about 5 countries, the Nordics, reaching out 10,000 board directors and approximately 30% in terms of international board directors. And we are partners with the main networks of board directors in the Nordics also. And if we look into the principles, if you could change the slides. And this is kind of our mantra, our guiding lights, the 8 principles from the World Economic Forum. We have them, you see them there to the right, and we usually kind of group them in 4 bigger categories that have to do with the board's role, risk and strategy impact, objectives, reporting, incentives, and stakeholder exchanges. So what we have done also for this program is we've taken these principles, and because they're a very fair, very good structure, and we also have thought about, okay, what does this mean in terms of AI? You could move to the next slide. And another element that we are basing this this program on has to do with this research. So, well, on one hand, we have the principles as a guiding light, and this research, AI leadership for boards, the future of corporate governance. This research was published in 2020. It was funded by Vinnova, and it was originally conducted by Robin Tegland from Chalmers University, Liselotte Engstam, that is here together with us, and me, myself, and I'm affiliated to the Stockholm School of Economics. And we were talking and collaborating with the Combient group. So again, Mats is going to give you a bit of an insight about that. And what we found is that really when you're looking into AI and boards, there's kind of 2 bigger groups. We're talking about board guidance of the capability, the operational capability, and the governance of the capability. So on the left side, we're talking about data strategy, innovation. We're talking about how can you create value within developing this ecosystem. And there to the right, we are talking about how to govern these capabilities, how to govern the data, black box decision making, ethical aspects, cybersecurity, and also being a leader within this ecosystem. And of course, always based on the board's capability, the role, the competence, the structure. So these are our 2 frameworks for this session and for the sessions that are coming up. So we just want to give a small introduction when it comes to generative AI, and really try to wrap our hands around that it's not just a tool, something that is a cool alternative to a Google search, but it's really a new way of thinking around work, about efficiency, about problem solving. So it's about trying to think about this new landscape. We have there some numbers when it comes for AI for sustainability, and they're quite staggering when it comes to different aspects, all the way from jobs that are being created, growth, and the impact when it comes to sustainability itself, when it comes to nature itself. And it's really interesting, the graph there to the left, when it comes to the different jobs. You can see all the way from legal, supply chain, marketing, operations, etc. And which of these are going to be automated, or there's space to be automated or augmented, or that there's really not so much possibility. And it's really interesting to look at the numbers and the possibilities, because it's really staggering, very, very high numbers. So if you move to the next slide, I think Liselotte, you should take these slides.
Yeah. So many of the people from the Nordics will know the global company Klarna, which is a payment handling application that goes both to B2B and B2C. The reason we have put this up is that it has just recently, a couple of days ago, made the media big times. The reason it has made it big times is that last year, Klarna reduced their workforce with about 700 people. And just a couple of days ago, they announced that after 1 month of operations in their partnership with OpenAI, the chat handles 2/3 of their customer service chat in 35 languages, totaling, it should say 23 million conversations and a satisfaction that is rating equal to humans. So when this came out, of course, it hit a lot of discussions immediately, and Klarna's managed to get a sentence into the articles to say that the actual AI's productivity is separate and they continue to support human agents, which we will not make a judgment of, but what we will make a judgment of is that we as board members will be faced with a very similar situation. How do we handle either this enormous retraining that we'll have to do with our employees, or the actual issue and discussion around laying people off and actually improving our productivity a lot. So the program, for those of you who are taking that, and we're delighted, you have 26 interactive lessons, and the ones that is open for you so far is on the first of 7 sections. And the first section includes the first essentials. So it's a bit about putting the framework for you. So the essentials, why this is important for boards, the generative AI and how it is transforming industries, and which cases are most common, and what is the progress. And in that part, you will also have a chance to actually do a little evaluation of your own company and compare that. And then it's a lesson around crafting the AI savvy board, and what you can think about and how you can, because most of you are here today, you're trailblazers. So how can you bring it up with your boards, the discussion? And then there's a section on AI readiness, and your own, the board's readiness, and some immediate actions you can take as a board that will put you in a good position. That will be followed by the strategic integration with 2 lessons, then around the guiding of the operational excellence, the overseeing of data, the innovation part, and the ecosystem. And then we have 2 lessons on sustainable AI, which is a dual angle. So one of them is how you use AI to drive your sustainability goals, and the other one is to look at the impact of AI itself on sustainability. And then we have the supervising part, which is to oversee the risks, the cybersecurity, and the ecosystem compliance. And we know that you are very shortly going to be overflooded with insights around especially the supervising part or the risk part. We urge you to actually think about the full picture of AI when you work with this. And then eventually elevating your oversight. So how will you monitor progress? How will you cultivate the leadership on the board level? You are accompanied with a board simulator, and occasionally you are asked to go out and do some simulations, and then you have your reflection guide, which you will be using. This is complemented with the virtual peer exchanges, and you sign up for them also on the platform that you are invited to. So there's 4 more virtual exchanges, which are following the program, and with some phenomenal speakers. So we're very glad for that. We actually have some of them in the room, so you might be lucky to get into the same room as some of them. And eventually, when you are done, we are very glad to be able to offer you a certification. So we want to start with the dilemmas, because if you haven't maybe gone fast enough into this, you will face the dilemmas. And the first dilemma is really about the leader-follower divide. So already we can see from surveys, research, and practices that it starts already to be quite a divide between the ones who are a bit more progressive and the ones who haven't really started. The more interesting fact is that the ones who are the leaders, they are in average getting 5 times the ROI for their initiatives, and they are increasing their revenue 3 times compared to the followers. So the first dilemma is around the competency on the boards. So from the beginning, you will be quite few, and you might have your investors pushing you on this topic, and I think Mats will come back to this. The second dilemma is all around the speed and the agility versus the stability dilemma. So how much do you dare to actually put out the initiatives and the challenges that you will have around your workforce and that retraining? The third dilemma is all around making sure that you innovate, but balance that with all of the guardrails that you will have to counter with, that will take some time for you to implement. And then finally, the short-term gain versus the long-term strategy. How will you place your strategic bets around this? So you think about these dilemmas, you will come back to them in the poll. Now it's my sheer delight to introduce to you Mats. So Mats is the leader of Combient, and he will share more about that company. He's also a board director on several boards, and he has had significant roles also internationally. Mats was also one of our sponsors for the research that we were doing, where he helped us and introduced us to a lot of the Wallenberg companies. So Mats, warm welcome and over to you.
Thank you, Liselotte, and thank you, Fernanda, for having me here today. And good morning, good day, and good evening to all of you, depending on wherever you are in the world. It feels strange, you know, when you're sitting like this, because I feel personally that everything is fine. My family is good, work is moving on pretty well, the company do pretty well, but around me, the world is crazy, right? And we are in the middle of all this. And if you think about it, I don't think we ever have been in a more challenging and fast-changing world when we are today, when uncertainty almost becomes the new certainty. And how do you act in a world like this? Well, we believe a lot that collaboration is the new thing, because it really helps you to stay on top of what happens. It really helps you to mobilize and quickly understand what to prioritize, but also to build new partnerships and ecosystems around you in a world which is not so much about the core anymore. It's more about how you bring the full value to your customers' needs, which goes more 360 from different areas. And as a result of that, we believe that large companies who normally have been rather independent in the past need to learn how to work together. And collaboration as such will be a competitive weapon, and I believe the success criteria for fast change of incumbent companies who needs to transform. Combient is a rather unique example on how large companies actually can use collaboration. And it is a group of companies which actually believes that the way of working with collaboration is a way to accelerate their business transformation. We started almost 10 years ago, 2015, with 11 companies, to a large extent Wallenberg companies. And today we have actually been growing, I was going to say 36, but actually we are 38 companies right now, as 2 more large Swedish companies have joined, IKEA and Mellby Gård. So altogether, we are today 38 large enterprises in the Nordic who believes that we can actually benefit from working together on all levels, from the board, from the CEOs to the tech people, but also across the organization, business to tech people to transformation people, but also to shared functions like legal and HR, security, and so on, who all plays a crucial role if you want to be successful in your transformation and make it to happen throughout your organization. The great thing with a network like this is, of course, the enormous amount of knowledge you have. This network, which we represent, has about 1.2 million employees, going from tech companies to retail, etc., and so on. So the collective intelligence and knowledge is immense. So think about if you can get this network to work and you can get those people to work together, what you can get out of it. The second big value with this is, of course, the sheer size and the power of the brands. And they have jointly, I would say, a turnover today, which is probably around 250 billion euro at least. But the strength with this is that it also helps us to attract leading players around the world and create an ecosystem around us. So we have very strong relation with the big tech players because all of those feels like, yeah, of course, we want to work with you. So we meet Satya Nadella, we meet Jensen, and so on, right? But what we also are able to attract is startups around the world. So I think we have a database now of plus 20,000 of the startups in the world, which can help us to implement some innovation and insert it into the companies in a hefty way, because deep tech companies is normally the one who is moving fastest. Another thing which is a little bit unique with this network is also that none of the companies compete. Actually, we have a rule saying that every time a new member wants to join, all of the existing one has to say yes. And that has helped us to get a pretty unique collaboration culture with openness and trust, which you wouldn't get if it was companies coming from the same industry. Another thing which I believe is crucial as well for success in transformation is the support from you in the boards and from strong owner families. And if you think about this network, we have a couple of the most influential business families in the Nordics with us, like the Wallenberg family, like the Axon Jonsson, like the Persson family in Finland, Herlin, Fatse family, Dansten Olsen, and also now the Andersson family, and of course the Kamprad family. And why is that important? Well, it's because they are looking a little bit longer into the future than normally a CEO does, right? And thereby they are pushing more for transformation. And transformation takes time, right? It's a long time bet. And thereby you need really strong support from families. So I think they are probably the most important thing in our collaboration model. If we talk about 2023, that was the AI mania year, if I call it like that, because we got generative AI. I think all of us realized that ChatGPT was something fantastic, and AI went from the traditional one where you could do predictions to actually generating content. And it was the fastest, of course, rollout ever of an application in the world. The speed was fantastic. But also, it was the year when most people in the world actually realized that they were working with AI, because AI is nothing new. It's been in products for years, right? And it's used everywhere. But for the first time, we could interact with AI in a way we didn't do. So it started also to democratize AI. And thereby, I think it helped us all to lift this to a level which was just amazing. And of course, for us in the Combient network, this was a very hectic year. And I just want to share a little bit what we did during 2023. We started the year by having Jensen Wang from NVIDIA with us at our conferences, talking about what happened with ChatGPT. And as he's so central in this, he could give us some insights and inspirations, right? And then we performed, I think, during last year, 17 different summits, conferences, and workshops around Gen AI in our organization to spread the knowledge and insights about that. We built up massive training capabilities. starting with making boot camps and hackathons for the specialists where they could try out and fix this from their perspective. We created enablement trainings where specialists could work with Gen AI hands-on in their job. We created online trainings together with MIT and IMD, so the 20,000 people connected to the training model could get some online training. We were building what we call LLM Sandbox, where people could take their applications in and test them out and use supercomputer power on this one. We were strengthening our capabilities when it came to people by merging our AI team, which we had for the network, with Silo AI. So we actually formed Europe's largest private AI lab with more than 300 resources, where I think 80% has a PhD. And on top of that, we also went out to the world and asked for the best Gen AI startups, which could help our industry. So we scanned about 5,000 startups in the world and invited, in the end, 30 of them to come up here to us in the Nordics and demonstrate what they could do, leading to, I think, almost 150 matchmaking meetings with our network. So we did a hell of, sorry for the language, hell of a lot of things during last year when it came to Gen AI. It was a tremendous energy and activity. And I think every company were building chatbots and co-pilots and experimented and did things everywhere. And I think we shared more than 30 use cases between the companies and how they could deploy it. But the most important thing was actually that it was the year when the owners put down the foot in the ground and said, if you work for the company in the management team or in the board, it's time to relearn, because this technology is so crucial for the company's success. So if you sit in a board, if you sit in a management team, you need to understand it, and you need to go back to the school again and learn. So we also actually launched a AI immersion program for boards and management team, which so far have trained more than 200 board members and senior management teams, and also led to that several of the companies have been running their own programs for the management team, cascading down this in their organization. And just to give you a feeling about what it was actually 3 blocks, actually forcing them to spend about 25 to 30 hours on training them. And it started up with immersion workshops. It was followed by a partnership with IMD with self-training and classes. And then in the end, a workshop to start to talk about how to implement it. So I think that was the most important thing, because again, I think that the role of the board have changed with this technology. Because now it's not just about governing and supervision, it is about driving and pushing and supporting a very complex and long-term transformation and make it successful. So if you ask me, what is the focus for us and the boards for 2024? I jump to the next slide. It is about what we call AI Take Two. And why do we call it Take Two? Well, first of all, it is because there is a second generation, if I say it like that, AI technology coming out now in the wake of ChatGPT. And it moves so fast, right? US and China, as usually, is accelerating away from the rest of us. And you see enormous investments coming from the tech giants. Unfortunately, as usual, it gets very concentrated around few big players. But the technology development is amazing. And I think you have seen Gemini, you have seen Sora, and you will see more and more things just coming out of that, right? So we are, in a way, in an exponential AI industry, which is even more exponential now and goes even faster. So you can just imagine what we will see 5 years from now. The other side of why we call it AI Take Two is actually that if you look to the past, we have been working with AI a long time. Most companies hasn't been so very successful in the transformation. There are some saying that 80% hasn't met their objectives that they had when they started the AI and digital transformation. And you can find a lot of numbers like that. But they haven't been so successful. So thereby we say that now we have a second chance to do it right. And of course, it starts by looking into the business opportunities. And you touched on them before, Liselotte, but Gen AI gives a huge initial improvement area when it comes to productivity and efficiency. And there you can, of course, see that you can do things in marketing and sales, you can do things in customer support, and all of those areas where you combine big amounts of data and help by creating co-pilots for your people. But also, of course, in customer support, etc., where it's not so 100% important that it's 100% accuracy in the data. You can use it for customer support and so on. So there is a big opportunity which lies in front of us when it comes to efficiency and productivity. But at the same time, I would also say that when you think about the business opportunity for Gen AI, think about it like in 3 blocks. It's the taker, it's the shaper, it's the maker. And what I mean with taker is that a lot of Gen AI will come automatically through applications from the big players. It will just be there. So here it's more about for us to understand how to change the way we work, right? So we need individually to get used to this. Sounds easy, doesn't it? But it takes a long time to get people to change their behavior. But it's already there. So it's somehow, something you need to learn your people to use. But it will not, in the end, give you a competitive edge. It will help you to be as good as the others. It's me too, right? So the shaper and the maker is where I think the biggest opportunity lies. And what I mean with shaper and maker is when you combine your own core business and blend it with what you get from the big tech giants and build your own models to create efficiency in terms of new services models or features in your product or new business models, where you have a big opportunity. And on top, there is another good thing with this as well, because if you talk about Gen AI, you all know today that there's a lot of risks. And one of them is if you can trust the data, right? Because it's biased, it hibernates and do all of those kind of things. And there's nothing wrong with the technology as such. It is the data, right, which is creating this kind of behavior. So if you work with your own data, where you maybe have more quality data and a more narrow data set, the risk of having the same kind of behavior reduces, depending, of course, on that you have quality in your data. So that is another advantage you get in that too. But also when you're looking into building business model, you will also realize that Gen AI is a part of AI. And if you combine different types of AI together with other things, that's where you really make the difference. And that's where you see the leaders today creating things, which is more about solving the complexity of their business models by binding things together, where Gen AI will play a part of that. But as I talk about all of those things, the big challenge with this is that if you want to create business value out of this, you need to attack the boring things, because that is the other side of AI take two, right? That even if Gen AI now is fantastic and it's very fun, to create business value in traditional companies comes back to the boring thing that you have to transform your operation. So you are back again to the transformation issues, the transformation challenges, which starts with leadership. It comes with talent. It comes with that you have the competence you need in your organization, that you build the infrastructure, that you have control of your data, that you change your ways of working to be successful, right? And that is maybe not the easiest thing to deal with. That was what we failed with in the past, which we now need to do right. But if we do not do it now, I would say it's even worse, because now the world will move even faster. So if you're not one of the leaders, like you showed, Liselotte, it will really hurt your business. But enough about that for a while. Other areas which you also need to think about in the board is security and trust. Because the fact is, if you're going to process data, if you can't trust it, AI doesn't really matter anymore, right? And the worst thing is that if you want to be a data-driven company, you need to connect everything with your products and your vendors and your customers, and the vulnerabilities will be bigger than ever. And again, as I mentioned before, we live in a pretty political, unstable world. So the threat against you is becoming even more today. I think only the IP theft in the world in US is like $500 billion, right? And you see attacks where nations now, they are not only stealing, they are here to sabotage, to destroy things for us. And we also believe always that they are there to steal, but the fact is that they also sometimes placing data in your own network, which will destroy your models. It's like a sabotage, right? But on top of that, also the technology will start to challenge us. And we talk about GenAI, and actually in the dark web, they have their own LLM models and are creating co-pilots now for hackers, on how to use GenAI to create new viruses or to create deepfakes. I think all of you heard about how they were fooling one individual in Asia to pay out money by having people in a network like avatars telling him what to do, right? And on top of that, we also have quantum computing, which will not only, of course, change how we work with AI, it will also actually mean that it will be very easy to crack the encryptions that you are putting on your data today. And when will quantum computing come? Well, IBM, who is one of the leaders now, they say that it will come here 5 to 6 years from now. So actually right now, companies are starting to prepare by putting quantum safe encryption on their data, because nations are already today stealing the data to be able to encrypt it 5 years from now. So you have to think about, what data do I have that is so valuable 5 years from now that I should actually protect today? And next year it's 4 years and 3 years and 2 years, right? So as you want to take the best out of GenAI, security and trust must move from being something you do from a regulatory perspective to something which is a necessity and an integrated part of building business. Security needs to be there through every step. And you, as a board, need to push for that and get it up on the agenda. Finally, it is about compliance, right? Because genie is out of the bottle, and I don't want to say if GenAI is a threat to humanity or it is the thing which will save us, but our politicians are now coming out and try to regulate it, right? And we have, of course, Biden with the executive order about safe and trustworthy AI. You have EU who is coming out with the EU Data Act and the EU AI Act, where we all need to learn and comply and be able to at least predict a little bit where we are going so we can future-proof our business models for the future and our investments. So as a board, you need to spend time on those and understand where they go and ensure that we do the right moves now to be able to get ready for this. And that leads, of course, to AI ethics policies, that those can help us and guide us, right, to go in the right direction and thereby protect our investments for the future. So for us, very much 2024 will be about AI, of course, but also about getting ready on the security side and the compliance side, because they are so important for the companies and the board. Last, you can jump to the next slide. I just want to remind you again that even if we talk about Gen AI, it is still about transformation, and we need to get that through. And thereby, I just want to share some thoughts and give you some questions to have with you when you talk to your company management teams. And the first one is that this needs to be business-led. It needs to be pushed through the company. And one learning I have comparing us in Europe, which is lagging a little bit behind US, is that we are not so bold and aggressive when it comes to targets. You mentioned here before Klarna, 700 jobs was taken out, which is maybe good or bad depending on how you see it. But I think we need to have more financial targets given. We need to stand out and say what this means for the business. And we also need to think about what domains do we see this happening in. So much more clear targets than what we have had in the past when we were experimenting. The second one is leadership skill. And it's about the board, of course, and the top management, right? Because this will not be successful, right, if we don't have this knowledge about the technology and understand how it impacts our business and the opportunities we see. And if you do not have it, how do you create awareness? How do you train your people? Because there is a strong correlation between having AI-savvy people in your management team and, of course, the success. I guess it's given. The other thing is about customer-centric ways of working, because this is the thing, right, that we have had the same organization structure now for about, 50 years, I was going to say. But now it's time to tip the organization and focus on the customer. That's the thing, right? And thereby the business needs to be the one who owns the digital agenda. And you need to ask yourself in your structures, how well does the business and the digital team works together to be able to fulfill your targets and be customer-centric? And then finally, in the core of all things we talk about, it's about value of the data, right? Because that's the thing, that data is what makes this to a big success or not. And thereby, I want to ask you as well, to ask your teams, you know who your CFO is, right? But do you know who is the person who is actually driving data management and governance in your organizations? Because they have a key role for this, right? And you also need to ask yourself, how do I use my data to differentiate my products and services offerings? So I just wanted to end, my presentation by taking you back to the boring thing. I can talk forever about this wonderful technology because I'm totally blown away and can see all the opportunities. But the sad thing is that it will not create business value if we don't push through the business transformation in our companies. Because in the end, you need to take advantage of AI, part of a software company, because that is what helps you to industrialize and scale your AI. And that's where I would like us to be now, going from experimentation to implementation and scaling. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mats. It's so interesting to hear how the leadership, especially the owners, are really pushing now, also your boards, to really get immersed, take education and drive it from a business side, as you were saying. And thank you so much. We will come back to you in the panel discussion. Now it's my sheer joy to introduce Bente Sollid Storehaug, which also have immense background and current operations in, of course, technical companies, but not the least, also in a lot of established companies. So where you have to struggle to actually get this back on the agenda. So warm welcome, Bente.
Thank you, Liselotte. You can go to the next slide. Yes, it's been a lot of discussions about AI the last 1.5 years. AI is nothing new, some people say, and that's correct. We have been using AI and talking about AI maybe since the 1950s. But the paradigm shift that we see now is probably the most powerful technology shift that we have seen since we got internet in the mid of the 90s. And I was lucky. I was starting to work with internet already in 1993, founded an internet consultancy company, and I am trained to see the possibilities by new technologies. And I always look for new technologies in the way that how can this technology create new values, and how can these technologies actually improve the existing business models and products and services that we have. And I think this is the technology that in my time has made its way into the boardroom the fastest of any technology. For better or worse, it's many opinions about the technology, if it's a blessing or if it's a great opportunity or a curse for humanity. But remember, as a board member, we need to see the potential in this technology. Okay, go to the next. I think this is a quote that I have always related to, because like internet was, AI is a groundbreaking technology. And it might seem a little bit mysterious or magical to those who do not understand the underlying principles. And this quote, I think, emphasizes the need for all leaders and board members to acquire a basic understanding of the technology in order to make informed decisions about how we can innovate, about its applications, and the potential for every organization. Next. So, 18 November 2022, ChatGPT was launched. And I know that many companies and even digital tech companies was taken by surprise by this launch. And this is a technology which is trained on a huge amount of data and to generate text-based responses and that mimic human communication. And the development since 18 November 2022 has been rapidly launching new features and new possibilities with this technology. So ChatGPT today can speak, it can listen, and it can see. So just imagine how huge possibilities for innovation that lies in just the generative AI. And remember, this is just the first step in a evolving technology that will bring us much faster into a autonomous, software-driven, data-driven business. AI is not only ChatGPT, and that for board to remember and to understand that ChatGPT, the generative AI, can create values, but AI in itself and advanced digital technologies can create enormous values for the next year. And there is some low-hanging fruits, and I've seen so many reports saying that the largest benefits is actually to grab the opportunities and to start working before the next 5-6 years. The value for companies can be larger within 2030 than 2040. But AI is a very powerful technology that can not only being based on large language model, it can solve complex problems, optimize solutions based on collected data. It can be used for predictions to predict future events based on historical data, so many different historical data. And it can implement development for new industrial facilities faster, cheaper, operate industrial plants more efficiently and profitably, and contributing to promote sustainability in every business, which I think is a very, the twin, the combination between AI and to deliver on climate challenges. That's also one area that the boards need to understand, the twin transition, green and digital. So this is a technology that no board can oversee. And I think the reason why this technology has been discussed in the boardroom already, because internet was not discussed in the same way. It was not given the same attention as AI is at this time. So
hej då vännen, ha det så bra. Älskar dig, puss.
Okay, so probably this technology, the way that it has entered the boardroom, that's a good sign already. Okay, Liselotte, you can shift. So why are we talking about this technology and the mass adoption of AI, ChatGPT, reaching 100 million users in 2 months, comparing it to other software technologies? We see that this is a technology that has been a breakthrough with which is the power in this breakthrough is much more effectful than the others, and so overseeing this is you have to start discussing it. Next slide. And especially also when you see and look about the entrepreneurs behind the technology. OpenAI was started by 4 founders, and this is 2 of them, Elon Musk and Sam Altman. This is the guys that is behind the 2 most valuable startups in the world today, SpaceX and OpenAI. Next. And Microsoft has invested like $10 billion in OpenAI, and that is the company today which has the most knowledgeable organization for AI research. And I think Microsoft is well positioned in this new digital transformation, which is now starting a new phase, and it's even more powerful than the digital transformation has been up till 2022. Next, it was also the topic for World Economic Forum, where Sam Altman was the key speaker this year. And the World Economic Forum is also focusing on AI and climate, and both these topics is important for the board. So the Magnificent Seven, what companies are driving this AI development today? And not surprisingly, it is still the digital giants that are driving and changing the strategies. And even big companies like Google was surprised by OpenAI's ChatGPT, and not thinking that if you are successful in a digital business model, you were in Google's situation. They were shaken up by the fear of losing their business model to a new company like OpenAI. And Nvidia, the stock price has soared, and Meta and Apple is also introducing that AI is the main strategy forward. In Denmark, I saw McKinsey had using 400 experts to conduct a investigation of 2,300 work tasks, and the conclusions is that 20% of all work can be done by chatbots within 2040. Next. So it can boost worker productivity by 14%, as Stanford and MIT says, and it's those who use it that will replace those who don't. So what's up for grabs? What should board look into? I think board should be concerned about the next S-curve, which is what kind of new products and services can be launched by new companies like AI companies, which is disrupting the existing business. And it's, I think in the boardroom, we are very good at understanding the linear development and the exponential development, which is caused by the disruption. That's often very hard to understand, at least in the beginning. Next. So disruption, what is it? If you look at the linear growth, that's gradually innovation. And when you see something that is disrupting a new product or a new service, we very often tend to oversee the effect of disruption. But exponential growth is really something different that is hard for boards sometimes to understand when is the exponential growth crossing the linear growth. So it changes how value creation occurs, and it next makes existing business model obsolete, and it improves and simplifies and redesigns a product or service in a way that the market does not expect, often more cheaper and more convenient, and than the established products in the market. So that has been the big issue for many boards the last 20 years, how to understand disruption and how to adapt rapidly so that the business can transform. And as we see AI now coming up as a new transformative technology, in these days, we see that AI is used as an assistant, often solutions like ChatGPT, Codex, DALL-E, Midjourney, and that kind of software. It's very often used by the employees and transforming, going into the next phase, which is more like an investment from the companies to use co-pilots, which can give you limited access to data like handbooks, product specifications, manuals, and customer service guidelines. But thinking about what this can be the next phase as a transformative technology, it will be an integrated part of the business core systems. And when it can have the access to real-time data, we are talking about real AI solutions. In my opinion, the problem for many companies today is that the quality of the data is still not good enough to actually be using AI as a transformative technology. But what are we heading? I think we are heading towards an AI ecosystem with a complex ecosystem of companies and organizations, and we will see more autonomous business models in those ecosystems in the future. So next, boards are normally acting when it comes to regulations. And if you see the EU Artificial Intelligence Act, it's a political agreement in the EU Parliament now, and it's expected to be formally approved in June 2024. And these regulations will likely come into force in the mid of 2026. So what is an AI system? I think boards need to understand what an AI system is. And some of the board's responsibility will be to initiate and map all use of AI systems and make an overview of who is responsible for each systems internally and what is the purpose of the use of these systems. So
Bente, I think if we can take the rest maybe on the panel, would that be okay?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So we will launch the poll. And can you see the poll? So the question, we want you to try to just be brave enough to pick one area which you think is the most challenging dilemma right now for boards. Is it around the competency for the boards itself? Is it around the speed, being agile, getting the topic up? Is it around the ethics, or is it the balance between short and long term? And if you can just let us know that, we will very soon ask you to discuss it in the boardrooms. We'll wait for a couple of more answers. And when we do that, we will ask you to introduce yourself in a boardroom and discuss it further. And most of you have answered, so I'll end the poll and share the results. And maybe just a quick comment from Mats and Bente on the results. Can you see the results?
Yeah, we can.
Is it surprising or confirming?
No, I think it's confirming, right? You have the AI competence, which we need to discuss, which is, of course, where it starts. It comes to the short-term and long-term strategy gains, which I totally agree, you know. What should you go for and how do you fit it into your business? Maybe one thing which I was a little bit surprised, but maybe it's because it's been discussed before, it was not coming with generative AI, was maybe ethical AI innovation dilemma, right? Because I think that is something we need to really think through now as we are implementing technology with speed. I mean, do we have a time to think through what we actually do and how it impacts our business? And maybe it's hard to say what you're going to prioritize, but maybe that one I feel is needing its focus. Sorry, Bente, I jumped in here. I think you're on mute, Bente, maybe.
If you can unmute, Bente.
No, I'm not surprised by the competency dilemma. There is normally has it been low tech competence in the boardroom. It's a room with high competence on finance and compliance, depending on the industry, of course. But I think everyone need more competence about the potential in AI and how to grab the opportunities around this technology. So not surprised. It's always a dilemma that short-term versus long-term strategy, because traditionally businesses, they want to actually use the benefit from the old revenue streams as long as possible before they enter into something new. And sometimes it's necessary too to
yeah. So we like for you to discuss it shortly in a breakout room. So assign a chair and a vice chair. The chair is the person who arrives latest into the room. And discuss these challenges. You can pick the challenges that we were showing here, or you can pick other challenges that you think is bigger. And we will bring you back in, and warm welcome. Any quick questions before we open the rooms? No. Hello and warm welcome back. Thank you so much for taking that breakout room. So today we are unfortunately a bit late. So what we'd like you to do is for the vice chair of each room to share in the chat what the one board practice that you think will help, if you can do that. And then I will ask Mats and Bente to just join. And just share very quickly one thing that you have done to get your boards to actually report something on the board level. What are you asking them to report at this stage? What are they? What is the management telling you? Is it on education? Is it on initiatives? Is it on the opportunities? Where are you? Do you want to start, Bente?
Yes, in one board I'm in, I raised the question that can we see all initiatives, or can you present to the board the most important initiatives that we are working with? And that was actually a very positive experience, because the board members became a little bit proud of, oh, really, we are working with the IBM, and we have developed a kind of new service that was very useful for our business, and it could have been also a standalone tech software for others. So that created a little bit more sense of proud board members, I think.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Mats, what are you asking?
One thing we are providing now that the boards are using as a tool is that we do an AI data and security assessment, right? To identify, where are opportunities and where are areas to improve, right? So we try to clear for them and thereby help the board and the management team have a discussion on, those areas we are going, because you can't do everything, right? So you have to go through some things. And then on top, like Bente said, I totally agree with you. I don't think the boards know how much is going on in the companies, because it's experiments everywhere right now.
Yeah.
So lots of initiatives, and maybe not always coordinated. So
Right. So unfortunately, we're running out. I'd hope that we can get you back and share some more. And we're also going to write a little blog post on the topic. Fernanda, over to you.
Thank you so much. I always forget at this moment to put myself on spotlight. We've done this so many times. So I just want to take this opportunity in these last minutes to just point out some really important events that are coming up. Namely, on the 26th of March, we have a very, very exciting event on shares fostering a psychological safety. And of course, psychological safety, when it comes to sustainability and AI, it's relevant not only for chairs, but really for the entire boards. This event is in partnership with INSEAD, Chapter 0 in the UK, and also CGI in Hong Kong. And we have Agnes here on the call today with us, and she's also involved in that. And we have some really exciting guest speakers, Nicholas Alain, Katharina Binde, and Rolf Pfeiffer. So really join us on the 26th. I think this is going to be just a very exciting event. And then we also have the follow-up on today's event. Like we said in the beginning of this session, today is just the first step when it comes to our AI program. So it was a bit of an introduction. That's a bit where we are. But moving forward, on the 12th of March, we have a very exciting event when it comes to looking into the ecosystems and data for boards. On the 4th of April, we have one around innovation, sustainability, and AI. So kind of creating value and adding sustainability to innovation. On the 18th of April, we are looking into risk of AI and cybersecurity. And on the 3rd of May, we have kind of a bit of wrap-up event. And we also have a very exciting simulation game around kind of trying to wrap up all this knowledge together in the in a session. So we have some very, very good guests for our program. We're very, very thankful for that. And we invite you all to still join us for that program. There's still time. We have the until the 7th of March the registration deadline. And we also have here some examples from the Climate Governance Initiative CGI events, and we invite you to keep checking out our events, but also go to CGI's website and check out the events there also.
So just finally to thank our presenters, Mats, thank you so much. If you have a chance to come back, as we talked about on some of these events, especially the one actually already on March 12, and talk a bit also with together with Anna and Thomas on the data and ecosystem side. I think you are uniquely positioned to talk about that, also with the surveys you're doing. And we also have Scott here, who will help us discuss and go through around the innovation side and the sustainability linkage of AI, which we are very excited for. Thank you so much, Mats. Thank you so much, Bente, for sharing your experiences. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining and for sharing your experiences.